Hey everybody, AC here, and welcome back to another episode of the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity Terrible Theory Saga. This time, we're talking about the timeline. Yeah, part 3, talking about the timeline. But for real, the reason why I want to talk about it in this video is because the other videos that I have planned all kind of tie together with one another, and I want to kind of have those 5 videos be back to back to back, and I don't want the timeline video to be the final video in this saga. I want it to happen a little before then. So this is the best place to do it. Now the timeline, uh, the timeline for Breath of the Wild is still pretty unclear. All we really know is that it takes place somewhere at the bottom, far beyond anything that the 3 separate timelines have given us. And there are several things to point in the direction of all the different timelines. I made a video a long time ago about how I thought that Breath of the Wild would how Breath of the Wild had a prequel, that the prequel to the game was Hyrule Warriors, and that Hyrule Warriors basically connected all of the different timelines. And granted, I did not do a very good job explaining my theory as to why I thought this was the case, but it was still a theory that I did. It was one that I was really passionate about and I truly believed. And I still believe it. I still believe that Hyrule Warriors, while it's not canon, it should be. Because we know that in the lore of Breath of the Wild, 10,000 years ago, there was a war against Ganon. There was a war against Ganon that would end with sealing him away. The war ended with sealing him away, and the Triforce disappeared. The Triforce disappeared. But that's exactly what we see happen in the story of Hyrule Warriors. We see Ganon being defeated. He gets sealed away, and the Triforce is split up and taken taken and safeguarded by Sia and Lana. And we know that they plan on, bestowing the Triforce back onto Hyrule whenever it's in need of it. And that could very well be Breath of the Wild. I truly do believe that Hyrule Warriors is supposed to be a far prequel. It's supposed to be the battle of 10,000 years prior, the one that resulted in them after the war making the Guardians and making the Divine Beasts and getting champions to pilot them. And then the next time Calamity Ganon showed up, the first time the actual Calamity showed up, they were able to defeat it using all of them. And then the second time, we know what happens. We've seen Breath of the Wild. We know how well that turned out. But I really do think that Hyrule Warriors is that battle of 10,000 years prior, the one that started the whole thing. And when we got the trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, I was even more convinced that this was the case. because of the design that Ganondorf has. Um, not only not only do we see not only do we see the not only do we see the crown, um, not only do we see the crown with the jewel on his head, um, but he also has extremely long crimson spiky hair, which is exactly what we see Ganondorf has in Hyrule Warriors. I do believe that this is the same Ganondorf, that Hyrule Warriors is meant to be the battle of 10,000 years prior. Um, and now Hyrule Warriors has a sequel. Hyrule Warriors has a direct sequel taking place thousands of years after the original, and just so happens to be a direct prequel to Breath of the Wild. You know, like, you can kind of put the dots together. Like, I am so convinced that this is supposed to be the Battle of 10,000 years ago. That's what this is. That's what Hyrule Warriors is supposed to be. But what does this mean? Does this mean what MatPat said in his game theory last year? Does this mean that there's a reunited timeline? Maybe. Or I have another idea. What if this is actually just another split branch? You got the three timelines, and then they can all continue on. They can all you've got the three timelines, they can all continue on the way they were. But after uh after Four Swords Adventures, another branch splits off from there, and it creates another timeline, being and it creates another timeline being Hyrule Warriors, which connects all the games up to that point, and then Age of Calamity, Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild 2. And that could be another possibility, that this is just another split branch. Not necessarily a reunited timeline, just another split branch that connects the games that have come out up to this point. But if any games come out after this that continue on with the other three timelines, that's fine, because this is going to be its own separate timeline. These four games will be their own thing. Hyrule Warriors 1 and 2, Breath of the Wild 1 and 2. Those four, that's going to be their own timeline. I think that is a possibility. It's either that or the reunited theory. Either one works. Both work. But the point is, I truly do believe that Hyrule Warriors is meant to be canon. It is meant to be the the battle of 10,000 years ago, the battle that started the Calamity, where the Calamity the battle that caused the Calamity to become a thing. And I think we're going to get even more proof of that once this game comes out and once we get Breath of the Wild 2. I think the evidence is just going to continue to pile on more and more until eventually it becomes undeniable and Nintendo will have to acknowledge it. And, you know, having a spin-off game be canon to the timeline is not far-fetched. It may be a spin-off game, but so is Age of Calamity. and Nintendo has already confirmed it's canon. So having a spin-off game be canon to the timeline is not out of the realm of possibility, seeing as how it has now officially happened. So just some food for thought. That's some interesting stuff to think about. But with that said, I think that that's gonna do it for this video. So thank you everyone so much for watching. We've only just begun. I still got 5 more videos to put. I still got 5 more videos to put up. Yeah, I hope you're looking forward to that. I am. So I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody.